again. So thought experiment time. So I was talking to my buddy the other day, and in fantasy football, we were talking about who to start. And the people that I had lined up, I already had Jamar Chase, but then on my roster, I also had for week one George Pickens, Courtland Sutton, and Calvin Ridley. And so the question was, out of the three of them, George Pickens, Courtland Sutton, Calvin Ridley, who do you start in second place? So I thought that was a fun thing to explore. Think about who to start, why not. Pickens, obvious. One going to be the first game we're going to see. Excited to see him out there. Really excited to see Pickens on the Dallas offense. Consider the fact that Micah Parsons is in Green Bay now, which means Dallas didn't have a great defense as it was, but now they sort of have a non-existent defense. So you would think they're going to have to score like crazy. Cincinnati, uh, um, why am I? So yeah, so Dallas is playing against Cincinnati. So they, let's consider Cincinnati's defense has been, obviously less than great. Oh no, excuse me. No, Cincinnati is playing. Cincinnati is actually playing the Browns. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting. Dallas is playing Philly. Philly is playing Dallas. But yeah, I think it's likely. But Dak's probably have to throw like crazy. So I think this scoring potential would be very, very high on Pickens. But it is a new offense, unproven. Philly's defense is really strong, so it's hard to know what that's going to look like. But you would think the opportunity should be great for Pickens there. Calvin Ridley, I know, his numbers weren't great last year, but if you really look at the figures, I mean, the routes on air and how much he was open, that basically, I think, what do we have? Mason Rudolph and Will Levitt, that was not really able to get him the ball. That I think with the upgraded Cam Ward there, I think Calvin Ridley's likely to be surprisingly productive, and it's not really like he has a lot of competition. Probably the second best receiver behind him is, well, I mean, it might be the tight end. I know my buddy really likes Chigakonkwo. I actually really think Gunnar Helm might be a guy who just breaks out all of a sudden. He's a beast. Size, all of its speed. I mean, to me, he's very Gronkish in some ways. See if his blocking's as much as that, but man, I tell you, Gunnar Helm really reminds me of Gronk in some ways. So I guess your next one's probably Io Manor, either that or I guess Lockett. But I've heard Lockett doesn't really look like very much. Van Jefferson's already been surpassed by Io Manor, so but I think Calvin Ridley's likely to be very, very strong on that. On the offense there. And then, of course, like I said, Courtland Sutton's the other, and look at the preseason, look at last season. I mean, the connection between Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton is sort of undeniable. It's also the fact that Tennessee, that game with Calvin Ridley, as much as he might be featured, it's going to be in Denver. So I would imagine that the favor goes to Denver, who practices at altitude. I do think that given the way Sean Payton plays his offense, I do think there's a likelihood that a guy like Pat Bryant's probably going to get a lot of work. I think he's going to get a lot of that short over the middle stuff that Michael Thomas had forever. I think you're going to see RJ Harvey get a lot of sort of the Alvin Kamara stuff, but J.K. Dobbins, I mean, the thing's also going to be a beast. Let's not forget when. Oh gosh. Of course, now the name would go out of my head, but when it was still the Saints, when Alvin Kamara was a rookie, they had not Frank Gore. He's called Big Truss. Gosh, I cannot think of who the other back was then. It's blanking on me. He ended up in Baltimore. Really great back, man. But I think that you're going to see a lot of that, the thunder and lightning kind of deal, the Knuckles and Sonic thing that Detroit has going. I think you're going to see that kind of style punch. I think you're going to probably see that in New England too. I know I'm not. Obviously this is not part of this conversation, but I do think people are going to be surprised at the use of Ramondre Stevenson, and then Travion Henderson. And to be honest, don't entirely sleep on Antonio Gibson either, because he's actually a really great back, and I think there could be a lot of touches to go around. Josh McDaniels likes to spread his stuff around. I think New England would be a pretty explosive offense also. So I'm sort of jumping around. I know I'm talking about different things, but I would say, so I kind of threw around pieces of why, what the benefits or whatever the players would be. But now I'm trying to go back to, George Pickens, Alvin Kamara, or excuse me, not Calvin Ridley, or Courtland Sutton, who's the one to start this week. As I then start breaking the pieces down, I do think all of them have incredible possible upsides. They all are going to have great opportunity, a lot of opportunity for touches, looks. A guy like Pickens is very attractive because of the chunk play nature of what he's going to do. A lot of the downfield catching things. That's going to be great, especially if you're in a half PPR league where those points per catch is not going to matter as much. It really is going to be what kind of yardage you're getting. That's very attractive. But I think a guy like Courtland Sutton is also going to get those chunk plays because, again, like I said, I think you're going to see a guy like Pat Bryant in that Denver offense, who I think is going to get incredible work, and I think over the season could become really your almost not necessarily number one, but I think probably fantasy producing guy. But Courtland Sutton, at least to start with, not all season long. I mean, their connection is amazing, and I think again you're going to see those downfield chunk plays. He's going to get a lot of the red zone touchdown looks and stuff. So and again, it's something they have had a season together. This isn't new. They're also playing at altitude. They have played at altitude. So I just think that there's reason to say that probably Courtland Sutton's the one to start. And my buddy had actually, Seth, he had the same agreement. He felt the same way about it. But so another thing unrelated to that, but let's just still talk about fantasy that it just come up because. Let's talk Steelers for a moment. I know a lot's been said, but I just want to weigh in on the Steelers just because there's a picture of it. Okay, people keep talking. I hear, the talking heads that, of course, I don't know if they're paid to or they need or whatever the deal is. They want to be able to get an interview with Aaron. They want to piss him off, but everybody keeps talking about how he's a veteran and he's gonna, of course, and Tomlin every year is so successful, and I get it. I get these general takes that, of course, they're still going to be successful, and because he was a Super Bowl winner at some point, that he still has to be incredible and productive. Well, I just want to put this out there that I think that you got to look at the fact that Aaron doesn't seem to move around particularly well anymore. And even if he can move to some degree, I don't think he wants to get hit. And I think the reason he's playing when he's 41 or 2, whatever he is now, that he doesn't think he's going to. And I don't think their O-line's particularly great. I think it's not going to be particularly great. And their first 4 weeks, it's all pass rush. I mean, they see the Jets first, and then I think it's New England. And then is it like the Ravens and Buffalo or some other in a row pass rush? Maybe the Viking. Anyway, it's like the first 4 weeks are all basically. I mean, again, if I were a defense, what would you do to deal with that team? You just pin your ears back and basically rush the hell out of him because he's going to either get hit or he's going to have to throw the ball away, and I think it's going to cripple their offense. And he might get injured. It might, any number of things could occur, and then. Even if he gets through it, okay, and say the team's whatever the deal is, then they get a bye week for week 5. Great. Just break. It's awesome. Heal yourself up. But this is the thing I don't hear anybody talking about. Their bye week is in week 5, right? So they got 12 weeks after that to play. And on top of it, a 42-year-old quarterback who, coming off of injury, doesn't like to get hit, who it doesn't, seems to perform better in the warm weather. I mean, we saw, when he was in the Jacksonville and the Miami games last year, everyone was like, oh, it really looks like he's back. Well, yeah, it was 90 degrees out, man. They play outside in with the Steelers in Pittsburgh. It's going to be outside. And they got 12 weeks of cold games, getting colder and colder and colder with no break. So I don't know. I mean, they might do it, might be whatever. But personally, I think if it's in fact that this team gets even to the playoffs, or let's just say stays like Thomas had a winning season every year. I don't think it's going to be because of Rodgers. I think it's going to be, if it is because of Rodgers, I think it's because Rodgers get injured very early and then Mason Rudolph comes in and saves them. Because I don't believe the age he is and the way the situation is set up around him, that I don't think that it's set up for Rodgers to have success. And that's my prediction. For his benefit and the benefit of the sport and the story, the legacy, the romanticism that we can create around football, that fun drama that football can be, then yeah, give me that story. I'm all for the fairy tale of it, of him succeeding and being amazing. I would love him to prove me wrong. But the practical side of me says I don't think it's going to work out. And I will say that I don't think that the team is not aware of that. I think this is part of the calculus. I think it's fine for the team to basically say, well, you know what? He's either going to do it and he's going to take us to playoff wins or more, or we're going to go with him and we're going to ride that thing, or it's going to blow up for us. And if it does, then we're going to get better draft picks. And without final losing season we finally got, we can blame it on Aaron Rodgers. And I think Tomlin likes that because I think it means that he can sort of cover his backside because the team took it on and decided to do this. Although, this could be more of a move with the Rooneys, and Rooney's might be, looking to move a couple old dogs down, Hall of Famers out of their organization. Hopefully not, but, yeah. Well, anyway, that's enough fantasy takes for today. Thanks. Appreciate you listening. Have a good one. Good luck out there.